Welcome. Today we have with us the CEO for 2Curex, Ole Thastrup. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, you were your shares started trading on Friday, the 24th of November, this Friday, and
Correct.
At an introduction price of 7.8 kronor. We have a graph of the share development after then, and it has been going down a little, and today it's coming back up again, so it's trading a couple of percent below the introduction price. 2Curex is developing a test for choosing which drug which will give the best response in colon cancer. Could you tell me what are the main benefits of using your test?
Yes. Yeah, the test we have developed we call Inditreat. Stands for Individual Treatment Design. In cancer, in general, we see that, unfortunately, very few patients respond. Talking about 30% of the patients, in the best case, will respond to treatment. And therefore, there is a desperate need to identify the right treatment for the individual patient. And that is where Inditreat comes in. So this is a test where you take a small sample of the patient's tumor, and then we can expand that into hundreds or thousands of microtumors that have the same properties as the tumor in the patient. And then we will test a huge panel of individual drugs, combination thereof, and then we will see which of these are effective in the individual patient, and almost equally important, which of these treatments will not work at all, because we do not want to challenge the patient with a treatment that we know will only give side effects. So in essence, that's the test. So it's a test of whether drugs will kill the tumor or they won't. I mean, we often say that Inditreat will probably become, for cancer treatment, what bacterial sensitivity testing is for infectious diseases. Most people know that kind of test.
Looking on the market, there are other tests. I have from the memorandum a picture of what tests are on the market. You could see, and you could also see a little bit how the price differ and a little bit the differences between the tests. What can you say of your competition?
What we can say is that the sort of the unique selling points of our technology as opposed to the competition is that we can work on very small amounts of tissue. The technology is heavily protected. I mean, we have been in this game for almost 11 years. So our patents have now issued. And the last and very important bit is that our test will now be clinically validated. And that's one of the problems for some of the competition. So I think that's the three major differences.
Yes, and in cancer treatments, you can use several drugs during a full treatment. And I wonder, would you see it as a risk of the conservative doctors aiming for the standard treatments?
Yes. That's a very good point. We will need to convince the doctors, the oncologists, to take in other combinations, maybe even other drugs. It should be said that we actually have a lot of very good drugs on the market. We just don't know which of the patients that will have the specific drugs and which combinations we should do. So for 2Curex to sort of come over this, I would say, conservatism, and it probably should be there. I mean, it's a serious matter to treat very often desperately ill patients. From the day one, 2Curex have been situated in the hospital. We sit next to the surgeons, the oncologist. We do that in Copenhagen. We have a site in Hamburg. We are setting one up in Birmingham, and we'll be moving into Sweden in the coming years. That is essential, so that you are very close to the decision makers. They understand the benefits, So yes, we need to sit down with the oncologist and say, here is a test that will actually help you to go beyond standard treatments.
Could there also be potentially, because in a cancer treatment you can basically start off with one drug, and when it's no longer effective, you can try another one. So would there be potential for the same patients to do your test several times during a treatment?
Absolutely. And I should say, we start with patients that are in stage 4, that's the latest stage. So they are in a desperate situation. There we need to pick the right treatment at once. So we can't sort of say, now we test this, oh, it didn't work, we take another one. Then we would have lost the patient. So there we need to get in the first go with the right treatment. However, we think that cancer in the future can be moved in to become a chronic disease. So these patients will, after a while, probably some of them at least, experience what we call relapse. The disease reappears. They have become resistant. Then we will test them again and put them on another but more effective treatment.
Looking at the alternatives to drugs when treating cancer, for example, you have the radiation therapy. How do you look on, what is your view on radiation therapy? Is it a complement, or would you say rather it's a competition?
It's definitely not a competition. And I should say, if we look at colon cancer, then radiation is not used. If you look at rectal, so we call it colorectal cancer, if you look at rectal cancer, there you use radiation, and the medical treatment is actually going in sort of synergy with radiation. So it's definitely not a competition. It's more a supplement.
And also, when I visited Astro, there has been studies of synergies between drugs and radiation. So
yes,
that might be a potential as well, maybe.
Absolutely, and radiation becomes much more focused. So you can actually get away with less side effects, but in most cases we will supplement radiation with chemotherapy. So, and that's where we come in, that the medical treatment.
So what about the market potential for the test in colorectal cancer?
Huge. I mean, there are 500,000 cancer patients that are newly diagnosed in Europe every year. And again, some of them come back. So the numbers are very high. But I think it's important to stress that there will not be one single test that the oncologist will use. They use a panel of tests. They use a panel of technologies like CT scans, PET scans, pathology. All that will still be there. But what they are short of is a functional test. And that is exactly what Inditreat is all about. So we want Inditreat to be sort of a part of the package in the, you can say, the armory that the oncology have as his or her disposal. So Inditreat is in many ways not replacing other technologies, because a functional test like seeing growth of the tumor and inhibition is not used. So we will go in and be one of the essential tools together with a number of others.
So about the finances, how long will your capital take you?
Okay. We expect that the Inditreat test will be launched in 2020, and we've actually just been out today with the announcement that we have hired a really good, highly experienced chief business officer. He will start right away of preparing for that market launch. So we do have funds until then. When we then go out with the launch itself, throughout Europe, we may go for a readmission.
In the memorandum, you're talking about signing up local partners. When will you start these activities?
Actually, that is something that is happening. I mean, an important aspect, as I said in the beginning, is that 2Curex is on site. So we want to be at the major cancer hospitals throughout Europe. So now we are in sort of Denmark, Germany, and the coming UK. Then we are talking with hospitals in Sweden. We will probably set up more sites in Germany. So this is an ongoing process. So that is what we talk about when we say more partner hospitals, is that we will simply have more sites coming in.
To wrap things up, I just want to briefly go into, you have a plan about being cash flow positive. Can you tell me a little bit about this plan?
Yes, we have set a price for the Inditreat test. So we will simply get reimbursed for each test. And there we have actually put in a relatively conservative price, and if we calculate that would just get a couple of % of the market, then we will get to break even relatively shortly after market launch, and that's what we have stated in the memorandum.
Very good. So then I want to thank you for taking part in this interview. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you.